Right, you'll just look at me, not the camera.
Okay.
Go ahead, just tell me your first and last name, spell it out, name and
It's
title.
Marty Sawyer, and I'm a candidate for Aiken County Sheriff.
And so, Mr. Sawyer, just go ahead and tell me, why did you decide to run for sheriff?
Well, it's been a lifelong dream of mine. I'm a captain at public safety here in Aiken now, and I think that I have a plan to move the county forward, to move the sheriff's office forward. And I'm at the time in my life where it's time to do it. So I'm gonna give it a shot and see what happens.
And you talk about a plan. What are some of the things that you'll do if you win?
Well, obviously dispatch and your road patrol has to be your two priorities because, you know, dispatch is your first line of communication. If you call in an emergency in Aiken County for the sheriff's department, fire departments, or EMS. So you want them well trained and you want fully staffed, and in the road patrol you also want well trained and fully staffed because visibility deters crime. I mean, you can't put a number on that of people seeing marked cars in neighborhoods, seeing marked cars in shopping centers and business areas. So keeping those two would be a priority. My goal overall, without talking about every crime, is just to keep, to make Aiken a safer place to live, work, play, and visit.
And talk to me a little bit about your law enforcement background. You know, when did you start and how'd you get here?
I started as a volunteer fireman at 16 years old with GVW Fire Department as a cadet. Stayed down there for several years, 8 or 10 years. I started at Aiken Department of Public Safety in 1989 as a public safety officer. Worked my way through the ranks. I went into, after road patrol, I went to community services. Then I went into narcotics. Worked narcotics for about 10 years. I was on a federal task force with ATF. And then I was promoted to captain over our investigations division, which includes adult investigation, juvenile investigation, school resource officers, and a couple other little things in 2012. And in 2016, I was able to attend the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia, which is an international program for command level personnel. People from all over the world get to go, but less than 1% of police officers in the world get to go to that training, so I was really humbled and glad to get to do that.
And just being out in the community, what are some of the things that you've heard from people and what they're looking for in the next sheriff?
Well, they're looking for somebody that can help with violent crime, gang violence, school safety, drugs, and theft. But, you know, we can work all day long as a sheriff's department, do the best job we can do, but without the community's assistance, it ain't gonna be perfect. So that's one of my top priorities out of 3 is community engagement. So I'll have to be out there as the sheriff and the deputies and command staff out there talking to people, gaining their trust so they'll be willing to talk to us when we need their help.
Do you have any key points that you focus on, either on your website or when you're out talking to people?
Yeah, I'll give them to you real quick. I'll make them short. My first one, like I said, my goal is to make Aiken a safer place. How I get there is, number one, my deputies, my employees, period, from record to dispatch to deputies to jail personnel, the employees at the sheriff's office will be my number one priority. And that is with training and equipment, physical fitness, and mental health. And the reason for that is the better product we produce, the better product you have out on the street and the better product you get when you call for service. And then second is transparency and accountability. And that's transparency and accountability between me and the citizens of Aiken County and me and my employees. I want them to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And then the third point would be, as we just talked about, community engagement. Being engaged with the community. When we ask for their help, they give it to us. But when they ask us for our help, we give it to them also.
Can you take that thing out of your pocket and just place it on the table? Sometimes it acts kind of funny when people move. Yep. I won't see it if you place it on the table. Yep.
Okay.
That'll be good. It started giving me static. And I forgot what I was going to say now. Why do you think that community engagement is important that you talk about?
Because I need to understand what the community wants and how they feel, and they need to understand what we need to keep them safe and make them safe. It's a two-way street. There's times You have to have hard conversations that aren't fun to have, but in the long run, it's gonna make things better.
And I know in your time with public safety, you probably shared some time with the sheriff's office at some point. What would you say is going to change if you are to win?
Several things will change, as I talked about, making sure dispatch and road patrol's full, and they do a pretty good job at it now. I personally think there's some positions that can be moved around to put more people on the road patrol. I think follow-up phone calls could be done better and more often, and just getting out there and talking to people and being part of the community.
Is there anything that we haven't talked about so far that you feel like you want to hit on?
Are you going to ask me why I think I should be sheriff, or should I just?
Yeah. I was going to bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah, so there are obviously 3 other people running against you. Why you among everybody else?
Because I've been active in law enforcement in Aiken County for 34 and a half years. I can go in day one at the sheriff's office with a minimal learning curve and take that sheriff's department in the direction I want it to go. Because I'm active in law enforcement, I know the laws, I know the procedures, I know the policies, not only of law enforcement, but of requirements from the state, requirements from the federal government. And then secondly, I don't have to go in and take time to build relationships with other law enforcement agencies. I've been building for 34 years. I have 2 or 3 sheriff's phone numbers around us in my phone, command staff from SLED, command staff from Highway Patrol. Them relationships are already built, so I don't have to do that. I can start building a relationship with the employees at the sheriff's office and with the citizens of Aiken County on day one.
And just talk about day one. What does that look like if you win?
Scary. It'll be a busy day. It's my understanding that you take over at midnight. Now, I would need to follow up to confirm that, but it's my understanding you take over at midnight. So whether it's midnight or noon the next day, it'll be a busy time, putting a command staff in place. People are going to be moving around from position to position. It's just be a big adjustment period. It's not something that's going to be totally complete in one day. I mean, you could be talking a month before you get all your moves made. And it also depends on how many people retire.
Yeah. And anything else you would like to say or touch on?
I think I'm the best candidate. I'm obviously have the most experience. And I would appreciate your support, appreciate your vote. And the only promise you'll ever hear from me is that I promise to work hard for the citizens of Aiken County.